target the people. Why have tens of thousands of people fled the region?
For the simple reason, because they know that if some fighting breaks out in that part of the world, things might happen that would be dangerous for their lives. I think it was a precautionary measure by most of them who fled. As we knew, there were already 20,000 people in the Sudan in the early days of the military operation. But basically, I find it, what exactly what we call it, I think is immaterial. One thing that is true is the situation that for so many times now that Ethiopians are fighting Ethiopians and Ethiopian blood is being shed. But I think this is not the fault of the central government. It is the right, not only the right, but it is obliged to maintain the territorial integrity and the national sovereignty of the country, and could not allow itself to just sit there while its troops were being massacred in the front of Eritrea, in the province of Tigray. So I think, as far as who was responsible, neither at all, there were many times, the central government take its time to want to negotiate with them prior to what had happened in the northern command. And hubris of the TPA, they declined. They did not want negotiation with the central government before, and that is why military measures had to be taken.
We just heard Prince Azarate refer to bloodshed, Madam Ambassador. The Prime Minister has said that not a single life was lost. But can we be sure of that? The fact is that there were communications to Tigray province were cut off. There was no internet connection, and independent media have not really been permitted to cover the fighting.
Initially, I will explain what Mikonnen mentioned with what you said. When these people start robbing the country's biggest station of the National Defense Force, and they announce that they have accusation of all the biggest ammunition, and announced that they can destroy the whole country, and including Addis Ababa, Eritrea, what have you. And do you expect the government to sit down while they are having all this ammunition and try to destroy the country and dismantle the country? And we want our country in peace. And obviously, why the people of Tigray fled or others fled to the country, to the neighboring country, is that they know what they have been doing long ago when they were in the jungle. They hide in the society, themselves kill their own people and pretend as if it was done from the other side. Even last time, they manufactured Ethiopian troop uniform, Eritrean troop uniform, and there are people who are wearing it to work. Government is killing. This is why they do this and knows this. That the people know when they are coming to be, they want to make a shift. They are people. The people will be affected. The service might kill. They live. That's why they know how in my country they kill the civilians. That's what they are afraid about, and they have to live. It's not because they are against the government. You see now, when the government is ill, they gave all the ammunition they gave them to fight. They give it to the government, but nobody forced them. They are the one who give information to the government. The Tigrayan people know Ethiopian people, and the Tigrayans have no problem. You will see they will live together in peace. It's only the elites creating a problem.
Mikonnen, what do we know about the fighting that was going on for the past 4 weeks? As I said, the Prime Minister says there was no... Apparently, eyewitnesses have contended that there were deaths.
Well, we have a number of accusations and counter-accusations, and as we all know that there are different versions. We know that civilians has been harmed so far, and we have heard that the regional group of human rights group in Ethiopia tried the situation, and some or PLF militia may have been involved in that. And then, but there are also casualties from the Tigray side that accuse the central government's militia. It shouldn't be necessarily the government's deeds, but you know, in war situations, militias take their own autonomy. Thing is of the humanitarian crisis. We have very rich. We have something like 44,000 refugees who've done, and it is not going to stop.
Take a closer look at the role of the Prime Minister, because in fact, a year ago, multilingual Abiy hope of a country that has long been torn by conflict come to be involved in military conflict.
Pictures from 1998. Tens of thousands of people were killed and hundreds of thousands fled in the territorial dispute. Abiy Ahmed is also a soldier in this war. When he became prime minister, the political scientist embarked upon an unprecedented course of reform. He extended his hand to Eritrea for reconciliation and returned territories. Abiy Ahmed liberalized the Ethiopian economy, removed old officials, and met with leaders from partially divided ethnic groups. Abiy Ahmed, celebrated by his followers and internationally hailed as a beacon of hope.
The Nobel Peace Prize for 2019 to Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed Ali.
The tide turns just 1 year later. Abiy Ahmed began a military offensive in Tigray in the north of the country. The Tigray, an ethnic minority and an important part of the political elite, feel that they are being ousted by the from Ethiopia's two largest ethnic groups, the Amoro and the Amhara. Will Abiy Ahmed continue his course of reform?
It's a pretty abrupt, it's what it looks like from outside that the minister has made. Ambassador, this idea that the Prime Minister represented the bright hope of Ethiopia and Africa, was it inflated expectations on the part of those of us looking from outside?
No, it was perfect. Even today, it's and why, if, unless a person leading a country, unless he keeps his country's integrity and safety, peace and stability, how can he talk of his neighbors and what? He is still working to stabilize and keep the peace and make rule of law in order. Otherwise, if you cannot keep the peace of your own country, how can you be a peace ambassador or peace laureate to work on the others? What peace laureateship he received is because he make a peace in Eritrea and also the neighboring countries, but especially for Eritrea. And again today, while his country is facing this challenge with those junta who want to rule the country, unless I rule the country, let the country be destroyed, how can he sit down and see when Ethiopia is dispersed, Ethiopia is dismantled? It's impossible. And it is his duty as a government, as a leader, to keep the rule of law and to keep the peace, stability, and
Princess Arete, would you agree with assessment, or would you say that he perhaps moved too far too fast with his reform process and thereby helped to set in motion the tensions that erupted in Tigray?
I wouldn't say that at all. There are many Ethiopians who believe that what he did today against the TPLF should because what they have been doing in the past 2 years is that his reforms agenda did not take place. And they were involved in everything that was there to destabilize Ethiopia. Whether it was the killing and massacring of so many people in the south part of Ethiopia, their hands were in it. Whether it was the disputes in London, believe you me, the hand of the TPLF was always there. So I don't think it is a matter of having moved too far. And I think also we can only come unto rest if the Ethiopian government will want very soon otherwise things are not going to calm down.
Mikonnen, if you would, give us a little bit of background on these long-running ethnic tensions in Ethiopia with Tigray, but elsewhere, and also why did they explode, particularly after this reform process began?
Well, Ethiopia, as how it is a multi-ethnic country, and which has been living in different models. It has been living ethnicity. So multi-ethnicity is one of its resources, actually, of Ethiopia. And whatever happened, whatever political system was reigning in Ethiopia, so undemocratic, the multi-ethnicity and the regional tensions, there are always tensions when there are more ethnicities, which has been always ignited, local leaders and so on, and governments has been always either to rule by heart, as a military dictatorship of Mengistu Haile Mariam, was trying to keep, the whole country, by force, and then came, he was toppled by the TPLF because the Tigray region was actually also historically marginalized as many other regions, and then they used this marginalization as a political resource to mobilize and topple the government, and that was the second other issue, that the government created a constitution which is based on ethnic federalism. So, and this is one of the sources of conflict, of course, with exit options, even to secede, if it doesn't work within the federal state. And this was like an exit option for Tigray as well. If it works, it's fine. If it doesn't work, maybe. And this is, I think, what happened as Abiy Ahmed first, who came peacefully to power, which is, very positive action, and then with the reforms. But then, he came into a situation where you have some kind of a parallel state. Within the Ethiopian state, there was a Tigray state, which is a kind of parallel situation, and then he had to deal with this very complicated situation. And that is also the historical, I think, dimension we need to look when you deal with differences, with conflicts, that you cannot simply solve historical complexity.
Should act in residents in Tigray province. In fact, Abiy wanted to govern with a new style, and when he came into office, his motto was Medema, which means something like harmony, as I understand it. Was he perhaps naive? Was the turbulence that we are now seeing to be expected? Should he have perhaps acted more with greater toughness in the beginning?
No, he's not naive. Medema is showing forgiveness, trying evolutionary to kill or finish those junta who lead the country with abuse of your right and big